Hi, Ellie. How are you doing?
I'm great. How are you today?
Excellent. Wonderful. Ellie, I am so excited. We get to talk about how you set up your chiropractor office on isagenix and kind of go through the steps so that we can share with other people how this all came about and how to continue to make it a success. Are you good with that?
Certainly.
Absolutely. Wonderful. Okay, if you don't mind, I'm going to ask you a couple questions just to kind of stay on track. I'm so excited for you and all that you've done. I know you've worked on this for a while. This has been a project that you've been involved with. How did it initially start? How did you start that conversation?
Well, I was actually one of his patients for a couple years before I started isagenix. So I already had that relationship built with him. And I had actually gone into his office and had said, you know, I know that if I lost weight, it would help my back pain. So he knew that I wanted to do that. And then when Beth introduced me to isagenix and I started to lose the weight, then when I went back into his office, he obviously was able to see a big change. And I actually used the products while I was there. I'd have my cleanse bottle or whatever. So he saw me using the products. And then he had a chiropractor friend that also used isagenix and was doing really well in this practice, and heard about it at a seminar that he went to and got kind of excited. So then he ended up enrolling with me. And I had offered to set up displays in his office. That's why he did go with me instead of with somebody who was further away. And then once he enrolled, we didn't really do anything with it for a while. I talked to him every time that I went into the office. We discussed things we could do. I did try to he was very caught on the fact that it was strictly weight loss. And so it took a long time discussing with him our other solutions, their options. It's not just for his patients that need to lose weight. And he did not have a lot of confidence in the fact that people would listen to him since he didn't have a weight problem. He did not feel, I don't think, comfortable talking to people about weight loss. He did have another solution in his office, another cleansing system, even at the time that I said I needed to lose weight, which would have been a perfect segue to say, hey, I have this here you could try, right. Which he didn't. So the key was really finding someone in the office that would be more of the spearhead for that.
Which makes a lot of sense because he is focused on his patients and taking care of their needs there versus the nutrition. That makes sense.
Yes. Over the last year, the office has made a lot of changes. They've added a nurse practitioner. They've had a couple office managers come and go. There's been a lot of flux. So I think that also contributed to his inability to really take this and run with it. There was just a lot else going on. And he's very, very busy. He has the office set up in a way that he's constantly going. So he doesn't really have that time to and counsel a patient on every solution that they would have to offer.
Right. So do you feel that the office manager is kind of your main contact or is the chiropractor?
At this point, the office manager probably is. I discuss things with him, but she's the one who's talking to the patients. And at this point, what I ended up doing was, once I kind of identified her as a person in the office who could sort of run with it, the three of us went out to lunch, sort of came up with a game plan. They invited me to come and speak at their staff meeting. And that allowed me to bring my display, talk to them, the entire staff about the different products, the different solutions, how they would be able to make some money. And that got the entire office excited. So then several of them decided to enroll, and we picked a start date that they all could start together. And within a few days, they were talking to patients because they felt so good.
Right. Excellent. Now, I know that you kind of had him, or he came up with a plan on how he wanted to get the office set up. That's a big question for a lot of people. Can you discuss that?
Yes. And I did actually, because I understand the compensation plan, I did actually kind of direct that. So that is a tip that I would give, because if they don't completely understand how the compensation plan works, it could cause strife in the office. So we enrolled all of his staff that wanted to enroll on one side, and then we enrolled his wife on the other side to get him to consult him so he could get paid. But we didn't want to have some of the staff on one leg and some of the staff on the other, so that they would be competing with each other instead of working as a team. So that is how, and then I've been working with them and encouraging them to any orders they place that are not for somebody who's enrolling, to put them on the lowest, the person in the office who's the lowest, so that they all get credit for it. And then encouraging them to build their other side with their personal friends and family, so that side, and that's kind of where we've started to get them. They're a little bit competitive there to compete against each other to see who can kind of build that leg faster, but they're not fighting over patients.
Yeah, it's super fun and super important. Did you have any conflict with them in understanding that process, or fighting with you on how to do that?
No, they pretty much, again, I have a relationship with everyone in the office. This was not a fast process. I did not walk into the office and say, hey, enroll, and they enrolled, and people I don't know. I have a very long-term relationship with these people. So they were able to, they were willing to take my advice as the expert in the area.
Excellent.
So again, huge important part, building that relationship.
It is. And especially the non-compete is a very important one. Now, I know that you mentioned that he gave them an option that he would pay for half of their 30-day, because that's always a big question on. And obviously, they need to do the product. They need to be a product of the product and know how it works. But who pays for it, and how does the manager or the owner discuss that with them?
Well, that was something he and I had discussed, actually. And I had set up a meeting at one point with him and his wife, and we sort of had discussed that, because she too had been watching on Facebook the posts of their chiropractor friend and seeing how it could be very beneficial to their practice. And she really was kind of excited and wanted to kind of get the business part going. So the three of us sat down and we had kind of discussed that. And then he revisited it when the office manager and he and I had lunch. He wanted them all to try it. He worried about whether they would, be willing to put up. And so in order to encourage them to do it, that was just the option that he came up with. Was that he paid half. They still had to pay part, and that way they would take it a little more seriously. He also didn't want to pay 100%, because if he just gives it to them, will they really give it their all in trying it? So,
right. You always got to have that skin in the game. All right. So you've set them up. You got their product. Then what? What have you done with your office the office after enrolling them?
Well, I am going in probably at least twice a week, and I just touch base with them. They're sharing with me their experiences. I'm keeping in touch with them, because I am at times going down to will call, or they're going down to will call, but we're coordinating some of that. We have started a Facebook group specifically for the challengers in their office, because again, they have that relationship with their patients. And so everybody can kind of coach at each other. And Linda and I are both posting in there and encouraging them. And then I do have one person in the office that I'm keeping closer contact with, because she has quite a bit of weight she wants to lose. And I want to make sure that she has that successful relationship. But just continuing to follow up and remind, the compensation plan is obviously not something that people understand 100% the first time they hear about it. So also continuing to encourage them, place these orders here, make sure that you're keeping active, all of that. They are all on auto ship, but going through explaining having your auto ship at 29 days instead of 30, so continually adding those little pieces so that they also become the expert and are able to take over what they're doing.
Cool. Nice. Okay. So you brought up a very big question that most people ask is how does the coaching work? So you're working with the one girl in particular, and then you have a Facebook group for everybody else. Is the doctor or the manager or any other staff working with the patients, or do you think you and Linda are doing the majority of that?
Right now, I would say that Linda and I are probably doing the majority in the Facebook group, but they are talking with their patients. Most of their patients come into the office once or twice a week because they do a whole lot more than just chiropractic care. But when somebody is on a treatment plan, they're in there frequently. So they're able to coach them one-on-one, but they're calling them to let them know product is there. They are doing the more one-on-one with their patients because they do have that relationship. But in the Facebook group, we're probably doing more of the information.
Excellent. All right, good. So I know we have your last question, and I'll get to that. But in between, since everything is set up, you've made him a consultant, you're working with them on how to do that and coaching with them. Would you have done anything differently now that it's in place, or do you really like, and do they like how it is all set up?
I think right now there isn't really anything that I would set up differently. I might have gone about this whole process differently, as far as I didn't really realize at the time that maybe it didn't have to be the doctor that was my one point of contact, or some of those things. But as far as how we've organized it, I think that works pretty well.
Right, it seems very simple and organized.
Yeah, exactly. And working on getting them paid right away so that they are continue the excitement has been.
So let's talk numbers real quick. There was the doctor, his wife, and 4 office staff.
4 office staff initially, yes, enrolled. And then since then, another one of the staff enrolled within about 3 days of starting, because she realized she was talking to patients because she felt so good. And she said, wait, I'm selling it anyway. I might as well enroll now. So he has 5 of his office staff are enrolled, and then his wife as well.
Okay, fantastic. And he's a consultant. Has anyone else become a consultant yet?
The office manager is a consultant. And again, it was something as simple as her fiance was jealous about her vitamins, that she had these vitamins in an easy to take pack.
That's great. That's a wonderful thing for someone to be jealous about. Of how easy is that? And that's something we forget about every once in a while too. Great. So 2 people are making money out of the 5, let's say, because we got husband and wife in there, and the staff. And it's only been happening now for 2 weeks, maybe 3 at the most?
I think it's about 2 weeks.
I think it's 2, right. So very, very exciting. Does he understand the potential that is there for helping a lot of people as well as the income, or what does he care about? What's his main trigger?
He cares about his patients. That really is it. And that is true in all of the things he does in the office. So he does not particularly care if he makes, obviously it's a business. He'd like to make some money, but that is definitely not his focus. He would like his staff to make money. That is important to him. But he is more worried about getting his patients healthy and making them comfortable. So however, for instance, whether to enroll a patient or just order the product for them, lets the patient, what is the patient most comfortable with? So that really is his focus.
Yeah, good. And I think in most cases that will probably be the case, or at least that's what they're going to say to us. Whether we really know what's going on their financial end, that's what's going to be stated. But I think overall, that's how chiropractors generally manifest and how they work. Now, with both the chiropractor and his staff, what kind of questions are they asking you? Are they asking you product, health, meal suggestions, exercise, or the income? What kind of are you receiving the most of?
I think mostly it's income and product. They've been asking about additional products. I took them a lot of samples, so they tried a lot of different things. I gave them fuel. I gave them each that's pretty much anything that was easy to take. I took and shared with them. So they have a lot of the different products that they like. They've been asked, we've been working on what additional products they should keep always on. Simple things like I overheard one of the staff members talking to a person about dehydration and saying, oh, well, you should drink some Gatorade. And so I then shared with her, no, you can get the hydrate and have that on hand, and then you can sell it to them right there. And, that way they don't even have to go somewhere else, and it's better for them.
Right.
So just helping, we have so much to offer that it's really hard to understand all of the different solutions they have to offer. And so that probably is one of the biggest things we're working on, because for them to be able to know everything they have to offer to their patients.
Right. How is he marketing this to his patients? Does he have materials, or is he doing it mostly through speaking to them?
He has some brochures that I've given them, but mostly it's just through word of mouth, and they've been sharing their story. Within a few days, they felt good. They'd started losing weight. They're excited. So that really is right now where most of it is coming from. They're just telling the patients, you've got to jump on this with us. Because it's great.
And then they actually enroll them at the office and either have the product shipped, or they check with you if you're going to will call.
Yes.
And then
they do keep some 30 days on hand. So what they can do is when they enroll a patient, they can give them the box right away and have their box shipped to the office to replace the one that they sold.
Okay.
Because again, the patient is excited, and that way they can just let them get going and not have to lose that momentum that they've built up in talking to them about it.
Very smart. Excellent. And what packs are they generally talking to people about? Are they doing the weight loss? Are they doing athletic? Are they doing both? And what pack is working best?
They are doing either a 30-day or weight loss, both the 30-day weight loss or the President's Pack, depending on what the patient wants to do. 3 of the people in the office did the President's Pack. They were pretty excited about the vitamins. That was a good one. So they are encouraging patients to do that. But they do the weight loss. That, again, that's something that I kind of encourage them to do, because in talking to Daryl Daniels, he starts even his athletes on the weight loss because he wants them to have that cleanse. So,
right. I agree. The weight loss is the way to go, unless they only want athletic products, in my opinion. So good. All right, great. And they're all having success and having fun?
They are. It's crazy. And they have ordered for several patients. One of the staff, as I said, this weekend went to Will Call to pick up more product because ordered bars and packs for people. So they're on a roll.
Great. Now let's talk future and let's talk retention. Are they set up as associates and on auto ship, and they understand that process and are appreciative of all that we have to offer?
The staff is. We are still working on their wording with patients and getting patients to enroll without feeling uncomfortable about that. So as they get better at that, I'm sure more of the patients will start to enroll. But yes, they are all on auto ship. They are all planning to continue using. Again, they feel so good. And there were a couple of them who were kind of, I'm just doing this 30 days because he's paying for it, and then they feel good. They're like, maybe not.
Right. And then just a few days later. Excellent. Have they all cleansed?
They have, yes. Yeah, they did not end up cleansing together because some of them ended up with some different plans, having to go out of town for some things, so they didn't cleanse at the same time, but they have, and they actually have enjoyed that. Now, again, they had this other program in the system called Solutions 4, which is super restrictive, so they were actually very excited about our program because they were like, oh, I can still eat. But so the Solutions 4, you couldn't have coffee, they can't have meat, there's so much they can't have, that they were really excited about this program. But for them, they had all been through a cleanse before, so they wouldn't probably have all the same issues that another office that maybe hadn't gone through it might. So that did make that piece a little easier. But certainly with their patients, because I know I was talking to one of their patients who's addicted to soda. So that will start to show itself probably a little more, and they're going to get a little more experience in coaching through some of those things.
Is that the plan, that they get more experience with coaching and they take some of that over, or is your plan to continue to just build the Facebook group and have more patients and more family members come to that?
Probably a little bit of both. Because they need the one-on-one coaching in addition to, I don't think the Facebook, as we all see with Extremely Happy People, that's a resource, but it doesn't work to just put someone in there and hope they'll figure it out on their own.
Right. No.
They still need that one-on-one with the person that they have that relationship with, that they trust, that they feel comfortable coming and saying, I'm having this issue or that issue.
Right. Good. And they're appreciative of you and Linda and the staff and the time and really want this to give them the results.
Yes. Well, and that's just it too, is that I am not abandoning them. And obviously they know that they can come to me with questions because they don't know, since they all did just start.
Right.
So the staff is appreciative, and I think the patients are too, knowing that this is a system where they're not just going to be left to their own devices and buy a diet kit and hopefully they can lose some weight.
Right. Buy it off the shelf and this one's going to work, honey. I promise you this one's going to work.
But I will say one of the staff members was a little leery. She went ahead and did it with everybody else because we were running the 10% off special, but she said, I already have boxes of diet stuff at home that hasn't worked. So again, sharing with her Jill birth story. I'm going to try and set up a 3-way call with Angie so that she can talk with her about the significant amount of weight she has to lose and how Angie did that.
Great.
So still using the same resources that we would use for anybody that we enrolled.
Right. And hopefully she'll become her own story and be able to share with others. Well, I applaud you, Ellie. I know that you have worked on this for a long time and you never gave up. It's always been a focus and a visual in your head that this was going to work and it was going to be great. And you're here, you're making a difference to a ton of people. Before we finish, are there any other suggestions you want to give to the group on this process or how to approach people?
Well, the biggest ones would be, number one, don't give up. It did take a long time and it was frustrating. There were times I wanted to give up. We did set some launch parties that nobody came to. It was very frustrating, and there were times that I thought this just isn't going to work. So don't give up. But then also just keeping in mind that it's not necessary to be the doctor that will end up being the person that gets excited and gets it going. That there could be someone else in the office that is willing to take that responsibility on. And so sort of identifying maybe who has that personality, that excitement. Sometimes it is somebody who has their own very strong why. In this case, it did end up, part of what got this going is that the office manager got engaged. And so she wants to get wedding dress ready. And so that was enough of the why for her to say, okay, we got to do this.
Timing is everything.
So the doctors often are very busy. And so they have so much going on that sometimes it needs to be someone else in the office who can take on that role. Yeah. And it took me a little while to figure that out.
Good. All right. Well, you figured it out. And thank you for going through that process. So now we can help other people, maybe not take quite as long and to help people in between, but you figured it out. So that's the most important thing, is that it's here, it's now, and you guys are all having a lot of fun. And what a great way to build relationships in your area and to create. Well,
he knows everyone's house. So. And he took some extra fuel because he was going to go on a bike ride with one of his doctor friends. And he said, we're going to use this on our bike ride. So he's already thinking along the lines of, if I can get some of my other doctors' practices going. So.
Right. And Andy figured out he needed that for his bike ride too. What would we do without? Excellent. Thank you so much, Ellie. This is very, very helpful. I know it's an area that many people have wanted to dive into. They just needed to know that we can, and you did, and you are, and then you shared the steps. and just keeping it really simple and easy because they are people. They have the same thoughts and doubts as anyone else, and they're going to have the results and the excitement like everybody else is having as well. Yay!
Yeah.
Fantastic. Anything else you want to share before we end?
Nope. Again, I guess maybe just again stressing the relationship building, because it's really easy to get caught up in the, boy, this could make this could really explode and make me a ton of money. And remembering that that's not what it's about, and that just because it's a doctor's office, it's not any less personal.
Right. They're still people. They're still people. I applaud you, Ellie. Thank you so much for all of your time. Thank you for your time today. And thank you for all the time that you have spent doing this, because you have opened up the doors for a lot of other people to do it and to do it correctly.
Yes.
Yes.
Learn from my mistakes.
No. Learn from your success as well as the in-betweens. But you definitely have been very successful with this, and they will have the results, which is just going to be a huge blessing for so many people.
Yes, it's been a lot of fun.
Good.
It's been fun.
Great. Excellent. Thank you for your time today, Ellie. Keep us informed and let us know how they continue.
Absolutely.
Okay. Have a great day.
Thank you, Stephanie. You too.
Thank you.